If you've been injured, I'd like to help.
Spencer Callahan is the one to see. Call 387-2323.
LA filing number 16-7969.
WNXX Jackson, KNXX Donaldsonville, and WDGL HD2 Baton Rouge. This hour brought to you by Spencer Callahan Injury Lawyers. LA 21-12681. Offices in Baton Rouge. Now, the Hunt Palmer Show.
Yes! I feel like I've been waiting for this my entire life.
You're listening to the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Jolly good fun. Jolly good.
Locking down the middle of the day.
America's favorite daytime fun show.
Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio. This is Hunt Palmer.
Welcome in. Hunt Palmer coming to you from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio downtown in the capital city on this Wednesday. That means half the work week's in the rearview mirror. We appreciate you hanging out with us on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Jacob Beck and Cassie Spazzali back there on the ones and twos. And you guessed it, we got a lot to get to here on the Hunt Palmer Show. J.D. Piquel talking week 1 in college football 15 minutes from right now. It's a What If Wednesday. We will get into all of that. The Saints are assigning folks to their practice squad today. That'll pretty much be settled by the time we get to it 45 minutes from right now. Straight up 2 o'clock, Mark Culkin from Locked On USC and We Are SC is going to join us to talk about the Trojans. Mark covers them day-to-day out there in L.A., so fired up to chat with him 1 hour from right now for our first real in-depth look at USC. Will Campbell had a lot of things to say yesterday. I was present for most of it. We'll talk about that in the second hour. And the initial installment of our SEC football power rankings. I don't get a lot of flack for how things go in week 2. Week 6, not a big deal. The first one, though, we always revisit at the end. So by the time December rolls around, I'm going to have to revisit this list. I put some thought into it, and it's there. And it's going to stay there until December when we revisit how stupid my first SEC football power rankings were. But we'll do that an hour and a half from right now. Let's get to some news of the day first to start things up here. Brian Kelly met with the assembled SEC media on the weekly SEC teleconference, first installment of that of the year. And he had a few updates. He talked about Bo Davis. They asked him about DJ Chester up front as well. But the injuries were the first question right out of the chute. And Chris Hilton was the one player on Monday that he had called questionable for the game on Sunday. He updated the senior wide receiver status.
Yeah, he was moving around yesterday. We had a short, about an hour practice. He was running with our trainers, working, getting in and out of routes, kind of precision work. So we'll accelerate that today to the next phase, which is he'll put the pads on and we'll see where he is. So he's in that progression where, you take somebody, that is questionable and you continue to work him through the week to see if he can move from questionable to probable. And, that's going to happen, through the work that he does with our training staff. And they'll let me know, at practice, how he feels. And I know he wants to play. I know he's working towards playing on Sunday, and we'll just see how the week goes.
Y'all know how I feel about injury reports. I don't necessarily take them verbatim very often. I think there are times where coaches will they'll withhold a little bit of information from you on the injury front, and that's fine by me, as I've always said. That one, though, kind of felt like probably true. It's probably true that he's been questionable. It's probably true that he was out there on the practice field yesterday running around with the training staff. It's probably true they're going to put some pads on him today. It's probably true he wants to play on Sunday, and it's probably true that we just don't quite know if he's going to play on Sunday. That's kind of where we are at this point with Chris Hilton, and I think I take Brian Kelly at his word. It is very possible that Chris Hilton hadn't been out there at all and is definitely hurting out for this weekend and that he's just playing it coy a little bit. But I don't think that's the case. I think Chris Hilton's just kind of right there on the edge of whether or not he's going to play. And we'll probably find out in pregame on Sunday if he's out there dressed and going through drills, and then when they get out there into the 11-man units with the first offense, if he's out there and ready to go. I'll be candid with you. I don't know where this bone bruise is. In my head, for some reason, I thought it was his foot, but I don't think that's right. I think I just heard bone bruise, and that's just what flew into my mind. I don't know where he's injured. A lot of the folks were out at practice a couple of weeks ago. I think last Saturday I wasn't able to go, but Matt Moscona was out there and said he went down. And so maybe it's something with the shoulder or the arm. I'm just spewing misinformation at this point. I don't know what the injury is, but I do know that they could really use Chris Hilton. I've talked for 4 weeks about how good a camp Chris Hilton's had, how good he looks. They've gotten him the ball in the screen game a good bit in drills. He looks good running by defensive backs. He's been sure-handed. He's a far better football player than he was 3 years ago when he got to LSU. And it stinks that in this huge high-profile game that he's finally worked his way up to second on the depth chart, that he may have to miss it. But we'll just have to see. Again, on Monday, Brian Kelly talked about Kyle Parker as being probably the next viable option. And today, Brian Kelly was asked about Kyle Parker, and he basically, and I'm paraphrasing here, said, look, we recruit guys to LSU because they're good enough to play for LSU. Now, sometimes they're freshmen, and you got to toss them out there and see if they sink or swim. You just never quite know. But sometimes you have time to develop guys, and eventually they grow up, and you can trust them to go out there and do the things that you've coached them to do. And he said they're there with Kyle Parker. I would agree with that. I think Kyle Parker has looked good throughout this camp. I've talked a lot about Kyle Parker and his role in the signing class that he came in with, that Shelton Sampson was ranked as a more highly thought of recruit than Kyle Parker. Jalen Brown, the same way. He was kind of down the pecking order as far as the wide receivers in that class last year. And then you brought in Aaron Anderson and you brought in Kyron Lacey. And so, like, you've had some guys that have been in front of him and he hadn't been able to get to the field. I think he's got that opportunity. And if he has to go, I would rather have Chris Hilton, but I think they'll be okay with Kyle Parker out there in his second year. He can make some plays. I think that LSU will be okay right there. So to kind of switch gears and now talk about some of the other things that Brian Kelly had to say on his teleconference, he was asked about Bo Davis and his potential impact on this team beginning with Sunday.
Well, first of all, I think you have to look at his experience, national championship pedigree. He's coached in the SEC, knows the conference very well, knows what an SEC caliber player needs to play at and what level he's got to be developed to. And so, when you have somebody that's that familiar with the league, the talent level, the development of that player, that's really where you want to start. Then, NFL experience, certainly the credibility that he brings then in the recruiting area, evaluation, all of those together give you a defensive line coach that's going to obviously recruit talent, develop talent, retain talent, right? And get them ready to succeed at the highest level. And that's why it's difficult to get coaches like Bo Davis, and we're very, very lucky to have him.
I think everybody's on that same page with Bo Davis. I think this was a great, great move by LSU to bring him in to stabilize a position group that has had absolutely zero stability for 5 years. 5 years. These defensive linemen that have come through this program have had zero stability. And some of it is LSU's fault, and some of it is not LSU's fault. But that's been the situation. And now Bo Davis comes in, and man, my sincere hope is that here's what he's got. He's got a group of really old dudes. I talked about this on Monday. All those guys that Bo Davis is coaching are old, save Dominic McKinley. Everybody else is in their 20s. Like, hopefully that group of men with that strength and that physical presence has been taught enough technique to be a little better than average. It's not like Bo Davis is having to teach all this to guys who are 20 pounds underweight and 2 years too young. He's got guys who are physically ready to be molded into SEC defensive linemen. And if he unlocks some things in those guys, it can change this team's fortune. It really, really can. But that remains to be seen. We won't know until we get out there on Sunday and see him play against USC. Speaking of the trenches, other side of things, DJ Chester being plugged into the middle of LSU's veteran and star-studded offensive line. And Brian Kelly was asked, what do you think about the young center?
I think he's gone through those phases of natural development. He's not ready to go to the NFL, or he's not, he's not first team all SEC. He's got to go play. I think what what DJ has really done a much better job over the last couple of weeks is handled the consistency factor, and that is the ability to come back and stack days together. I thought early in camp he had a couple of good days, and then he had a couple of days where you're like, head scratchers, right? And we can't have that at that position. That has to be, the center position has to be one of, real consistent play, for 72, 75, whatever, how many plays you play. And I thought that, from a maturity standpoint, he really understood that and settled in nicely these last couple of weeks with really consistent play. And that's why he will start for us against a very, very good defensive line. And in particular, against a big guy in Bear Alexander, who's going to probably be on his nose quite a bit. So that's a big challenge for a young guy, but we think he's up for it.
That's a tall assignment for DJ Chester right out of the gate. Bear Alexander did not have the monster year last year that a lot of people anticipated. That was the big name that USC had added in the portal to help transform the defense opposite the reigning Heisman Trophy winner, and that was going to be part of why USC took a step forward, and they didn't. But he's a big dude. Like, there's a reason he was a 5-star recruit. There's a reason Georgia wanted him. There's a reason USC wanted him. There's a reason an NFL team will take him after this season. He's a big, big dude. And he's also paying attention on Twitter, because we're going to talk about Will Campbell a little bit later in the show. And Bear Alexander was paying attention to Will Campbell yesterday. And so, look, DJ Chester, as you heard Brian Kelly allude to there in the soundbite, had some really good days early in camp and some rough days. And we saw that as the media. The first day they were out there in pads, they were doing one-on-ones, offensive line, defensive line, and DJ Chester had a couple of fantastic one-on-one reps. I mean, just snapping the ball and stonewalling a couple of defensive linemen. And I was going, They just went from a smart, savvy veteran who's a little undersized in Charles Turner to a brick house in DJ Chester. It could be a big upgrade. That's kind of what I was thinking when I left that first practice. And then you go out there the next day and, well, he gets beat a few times in practice. Oh, there's a bad snap. And you're going, oh, that's kind of typical of a young player, not necessarily having back-to-back days. And that was noticeable from us just early on in camp. And Brian Kelly kind of echoed that. And then it appears that once we've been shut out and they've had a couple of weeks to have some practice without the media assembled, that Chester has performed more admirably. I talked about this a lot. That's a very comfy place to come into the lineup from an LSU perspective because of the veteran presence and the quality players around you. However, he still is young, and he's dealing with a really good defensive tackle right out of the chute, who Brian Kelly says, based on his film study, probably of UCLA's defense, because that's where the defensive coordinator comes from, that Bear Alexander's going to be right there on his nose the entire game. So Chester's got to have a big game. If LSU can't win at the point of attack, you can probably turn out the lights. Like, they've got to win at the point of attack, and Chester's going to be a big piece of that. So I thought that was an interesting comment from Brian Kelly. We do have a little bit of breaking news from LSU. Y'all know I work for the LSU Sports Radio Network during football season. I do the pre- and post-game show for LSU Sports Properties, and we just got a press release that was sent out confirming that Doug Moreau, who's been the color announcer on the LSU Sports Radio Network for decades and decades, he was on the broadcast team 1972 to 81 before jumping back in, and has been on the call since 1988. Incidentally, I was born in 1988. So that's how long Doug Moreau has been on the broadcast for LSU football. LSU announcing today that he will miss the 2024 season while he recovers from surgery. I've gotten to know Doug. He's just a fantastic human being, a wonderful person to be around. He's done a phenomenal job on the broadcast for decades and decades. So we will certainly miss him this season and hope to have him back, but we certainly wish him the best in his recovery from surgery. So if you're listening to the LSU Sports Radio Network broadcast this year, you'll still hear Chris Blair on the call. You'll still hear Gordy Rush down on the sidelines, and Jacob Hester is going to jump aboard and do some color work with Chris Blair. So it's exciting for Jacob. We're thinking about Doug, and we will certainly miss him during this football season. Again, LSU announcing that he will miss this season as he recuperates from some surgery. So all our best wishes to Doug Moreau, who's kind of an institution here in the Baton Rouge area for a lot of different reasons. All right, when we come back, J.D. Pickell from On 3 talking college football week 1. Let's do that next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Evolve Physical Therapy. EvolvePT.com is the website. If you've been injured, whether it's playing sports or in an accident, and you've got some pain that's lingering and you're just not able to get back to what you want to be physically, Evolve Physical Therapy and Sports has to be your one-stop shop. From the second you walk in the door at Evolve Physical Therapy and Sports, you're going to have a physical therapist that is there, that is making sure you're doing everything you need to do to rehabilitate and get back to being your active self. It is very, very much hands-on. They do dry needling. They do cupping. If there's significant injury and you're trying to get back, there's some isokinetic testing that they can do. You got to check them out. You got to get by there. They're on Starring near Highland Road. It is the physical therapy clinic in town. Robbie Bolton has been at this for 2 decades just about, and he's helped some of LSU's athletes get back to being their active selves. Doesn't matter if you're a youth athlete, you're someone who's in their 50s, 60s, 70s. If you're an active person, you've got pain and you're not able to do the things that you want to do, physical therapy can help you, and it will help you over at Evolve Physical Therapy and Sports. I mentioned they're on Starring near Highland Road. You can check them out online, evolvept.com. It's Evolve Physical Therapy and Sports, evolvept.com.
Back to school savings at Bayou Ford. $12,000 off F-150, $12,000 off the new 2024 Ford F-150, and $10,000 off Expedition. All new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a complimentary extended warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
It's an everyday thing here. We work horses in the mornings and we work on the property during the day, and without these John Deere tractors, you know, it'd almost be impossible to keep up with the place. I've dealt with some of the other colors and stuff, and I never really got the response back that I get from John Deere, you know. We really enjoy dealing with Sunshine. They're good people. They always check on us and make sure our equipment's running, and we love them. Flip the switch and learn more about what it means to be powered by Sunshine at sunequip.com.
When it comes to ending cancer, we push forward, always working together for you. That's why our cancer experts at Ochsner have clinically integrated with MD Anderson Cancer Center. This means advanced cancer care, including access to life-saving clinical trials and integrating care.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
Thinking the Cubs might have irritated Paul Skeens. They got 3 runs early, which was great for the Cubs. Sorry to offend all of you huge LSU fans that want Skeens to do well. And then he just shut the door after that. He's striking everybody out. He's got 6 Ks, and the Cubs can't get anybody out, so it's 8-3 Pirates, which none of you care about. It's football season now, but I was checking into that, and I was like, oh, the Cubs got 3 on Skeens. Like, that's pretty good. Well, the Pirates have 8, so we don't have to talk about that game anymore. Let's talk about some football. No better guy to do that with than our guy J.D. Piquel, host of the Hard Count on 3 Sports, probably on Cloud 9 somewhere right now. J.D., how we doing?
Brother, I'm doing great. Doing great, like you mentioned, on Cloud 9. The time is here. It is week 1, baby. We're running and gunning, as I'm sure you are, and it's back, baby. It's all the way back. Good to talk to you.
Yeah, there's no doubt I'm running and gunning. This is a busy week over here in my neck of the woods. But I'm fired up. Let's go back before we go forward. Big cause for concern for Florida State or just a tough loss?
I think it's probably, it's tough because you don't want to ride the fence and say it's a little bit of both. I think the most concerning thing to me was that what I thought would be the equation for Florida State, what I thought was going to be the bread and butter of the run game and the run defense and the physical push-you-around outfit was nowhere to be found. And so then you go to DJU to try and generate some offense, and he's getting killed on Twitter for not throwing the ball downfield. And I'm like, that was always the plan. Like, it was always supposed to be, hey, DJU, just kind of dink and dunk, take care of the football, and we'll run our way all the way to where we want to go. So I'm not totally sure that Georgia Tech isn't going to be a wagon in the ACC. Like what they did up front was really impressive. So I'm not sounding the alarm just yet on Florida State, but rather I think that we could be looking at Georgia Tech as being a player in the ACC.
Clemson's got their hands full this weekend. We'll talk about that. But do you think they're the best team in the ACC? Do you think Florida State is? Is it somebody else?
It's funny. I think Miami loses this week, but I think they're the best team in the ACC. I think they're talented. I think that the Swamp's a tough place to play. I think they have the best quarterback. And so right now I'll go Miami as my favorite in the ACC, sticking with my preseason pick.
That's interesting. Let's go right there then to the game in the Swamp, which I find incredibly interesting. I like A&M Notre Dame for some other reasons, but Florida-Miami is very fascinating on both sides. And you think that Florida wins that game at home against a team that you think is very good in Miami. So that means you must think a lot of Florida. Tell me about it.
Yeah, I think I said it on our show, like, if this game was being played in Nashville, Tennessee, I'd pick Miami. If it was being played in Mars, I'd pick Miami. However, with it being played in the Swamp, I think all the new portal pieces for Miami being playing in that atmosphere and your most important portal piece, Cam Ward, trying to acclimate his first start, and I think is, one of the toughest atmospheres in college football, right up there with Death Valley. Like, I'm imagining there's going to be some catching up there. I'm imagining there's going to be a little bit of an acclimation process there. So I'm going to go ahead and lean towards the Swamp, lean Florida. And the game that reminds me so much of is that Utah-Florida game we got a couple of years ago, where Utah's probably on paper the better team, went on to accomplish more things in the postseason. But when you go to the Swamp, and we'll see what the weather's like, it's a tough place to play, and I think that changes the game.
Do you think Florida is going to be dynamic on offense? I realize that's a general question, but I don't think dynamic when I think Graham Mertz. But, do you think they're going to be one of the top 5 offenses in the SEC?
Ooh, top 5 might be a little bit rich. I think they'll be dynamic enough in this game, at least. And the big reason why is I honestly think their wide receiver room is really underrated. Like, Trey Wilson, to me, is a name that I think a lot of college football fans across the SEC already know because of what he did last year as a true freshman in that conference. I think after Saturday, he's going to be a national name. Like, I think they're going to give him double-digit touches. I think they'll throw it to him. I think he'll get it in speed sweeps. Like, he is just so dynamic with the football in his hands to where the offense in itself may not have the most dynamic, game plan or approach, but when they get him the football, they immediately get, a little bit of that lightning bolt factor to them and kind of become a dynamic approach in that sense. So number 3 is dynamic, and that in itself should open everything else up.
How big is this game for Mario Cristobal?
Oh, I think it's huge. And I said it today, I think regardless of what's actually real, post-game Twitter for this one will be incredible. It's going to be just the absolute. I think Andy Staples, who also does great work here on 3, called it the pitchforks and torches bowl for whoever loses. It is going to be pandemonium. And I think the other thing, too, is Miami, if you're looking at this thing from a 30,000-foot view, they've built to a year like this to where they expect to have success. On the other side, you're talking about Billy Napier, and it's well, will he be here this time next year? And for 2 guys that were hired at the same time in state, if you can't beat Billy Napier, the optics of it will be, how good are you really? Well, what are you really doing here at Miami? What are we really building to? And again, I think that's all kind of victim of the moment talk that's going to happen if they lose to Florida. But optically, obviously, it'd be huge to get an in-state win. It would boost recruiting, and it would kind of be a great, checkpoint into what he's done there since he's gotten to the U.
Clemson was the pinnacle of college football 5 years ago. There's no debating that. They were playing in national championship games more than they weren't. They're going up against the pinnacle of college football on Saturday. Can they compete?
I love Dabo Swinney. I would love if he took callers on his radio show, but that's just me. I get it, the whole Tyler from Spartanburg thing. I love Dabo. I love the way they do things. They're going to get drugged. I mean, I don't even know what they're going to get drugged like. They're going to get drugged like a doll through some mud in Atlanta. It's going to be bad. Like, maybe let the kids watch the first couple minutes of the second quarter, but like, it's going to get ugly. It's going to get late early, and I think that's going to be not suitable for a lot of the young eyes to view. I mean, so dominant up front. I don't have a ton of faith in what they're going to do offensively at Clemson. Carson Beck's going to just have, his entire menu available to him with what he wants to do, throwing the football downfield because they're going to run it so well. It is, put the life savings on Georgia minus 13.5.
Interesting. You heard it here first. J.D. McKell says, throw all the cash on the dogs. All right, let's talk Notre Dame and Texas A&M. Mike Elko, very familiar with the quarterback up there at Notre Dame. Going to be a packed house at Kyle Field. What do you think?
This one's weird to me. I think this might be one of the most unpredictable games of the whole weekend, just because on paper you're like, okay, well, Notre Dame in year 3, they have what you would assume is the advantage at quarterback, what you would assume is the advantage at OC. Very adult defense with like 7 of their starting 11, I think, are like grad students, not seniors, but grad students. So like that has to count for something. For that reason, there's too much logically there for me to not pick Notre Dame. But at the same time, like you mentioned, Mike Elko knows Riley Leonard. We've talked about how good that roster has been for, it feels like, the better part of the last 20 years now at A&M. And now we're going to actually get to see what they can be with what you would hope is a more capable staff out there in College Station. So Kyle Field will probably count for something. But there's too much there for Notre Dame. A name to know, similar to what I said about Eugene Wilson at Florida. Jeremiah Love, I think, is going to be just a matchup nightmare this weekend for Texas A&M. He's a running back for Notre Dame. He's going to put it out in the slot, can hand it to him, can check it down to him. Like, he's going to be a weapon. I think he has a massive day, and I think the Irish win in a close one.
I was watching you the other day, and it was yesterday actually, and you were talking about that Mike Denbrock, Jaden Daniels play where they run the zone read and the quarterback runs, and then he can dump to the tight end if he wants to, that LSU ran a bajillion times over the last 2 years. You think you'll see some of that in the game on Saturday?
I think you have to. One, I appreciate you consuming my content. That I appreciate that. That means we're reaching the right people. But two, just what with the overblown storyline, maybe not overblown, but the blown up storyline, regardless of Notre Dame having a younger offensive line and having to replace some guys due to injury. I think you got to move the pocket with Riley Leonard, and he's such a good athlete to where I'd feel great about putting him out there on the perimeter and dumping off to Mitchell Evans. Like, I think you call that until you're blue in the face, especially like, second and medium, third and short. Like, I love that play. Riley Leonard may not be Jaden Daniels, but I think he's good enough to get north and south and to make A&M pay a few times in that kind of a situation.
I've buried the lead long enough. Out west on Sunday, LSU and USC will have the eyes of the nation to themselves at that point. Everybody else will be done on Saturday. So what are you looking for on Sunday night out in Vegas?
Kind of feels like a quarterback duel hunt, doesn't it? Kind of has that vibe of, both defenses are trying to figure out how to stop somebody. And I think both defenses will be improved this season. I'm just not so sure that we see the fruits of their labor from fall camp show up in game one with, let's face, like, two pretty dynamic offenses on paper, at least going into the season. I do think it will come down to who can make the play on defense. Like, I think it's going to be about how many possessions you can have and if you can steal a couple of those. And with him rocking that new number 7 and a new DC, and I would imagine a new temperature when it comes to aggression on defense, like, I want to see Blake Baker just cut Harold Perkins loose. Doesn't have to be a 30 snaps where he's blitzing the quarterback. Just give me a few situational. Just give me a nice little strip sack and have that kind of be the difference for LSU in Vegas. So a lot of points. I think Garrett Nussmeier is cut out for a moment like this. I really like USC in the long haul, but I think they drop this game, and I think LSU starts the year 1-0, and Brian Kelly gets that monkey that has been the opening game off of his back in Baton Rouge.
Well, here's something to make you happy, because I talked to Harold Perkins yesterday during player interviews, and he said, yeah, Blake Baker likes to get a little nasty with it on third downs, and so you can expect to see Harold Perkins somewhere on third downs. It's probably not all that comfortable for opposing defenses. But Greg Penn told me, he's like, we have to get to third down first. We didn't do that enough last year. So they understand the assignment. It's just whether or not they can do that against the Lincoln Riley team. Enjoy the entire weekend worth of football. We'll be checking you out on On3's YouTube channel and certainly on Twitter, and we'll talk to you next week, man.
Let's go. Thanks so much, man. You have a great weekend. Enjoy the ball.
Sure will. JD Piquel, host of the Hard Count on 3. You can check him out, subscribe to the channel, and see him on Twitter. He's with us every single Wednesday. Always appreciate a little bit of time with our guy, JD Piquel. When we come back, it's What If Wednesday on The Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
One Bath and Closets. OneBathAndClosets.com is the website. David Duvall and his team, 30 years redesigning and remodeling bathrooms and closets. Safety is a big, big issue in the bathroom, especially as folks age. I tell you this every single week, but it doesn't become any less true. If there's someone in your life that's aging and wants to stay at home, but you think there may be some hazards in the bathroom, let the team at One Bath and Closets come in and help. They can come in, put in non-slip floors. They can put guardrails in around the tub or shower, dangerous areas. They can put a bench in the shower. They can put a walk-in tub in for convenience and safety. All these things are things that they do all the time, and you may not think about it in your personal situation, but maybe there's someone that you love that may need that looked at. David Duvall and his team are happy to help you out with that. Get that free consultation. It costs that much, none, to have David Duvall come out and say, hey, this is what we can do. You tell him the Hunt Palmer Show sent you $1,000 off of your deal, and then you move forward with it. And David Duvall and his team are going to do it right the first time and leave that competition behind. Check out their testimonials. Check out the pictures of their fantastic work. Get that free consultation. It's all online at OneBathAndClosets.com. The website again, OneBathAndClosets.com.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has back-to-school savings like $16,000 off 25 Ram 1500 trucks. We are open for business in our beautiful new showroom and taking $16,000 off. All new Bayou vehicles come with a complimentary extended warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
At Relief Windows, we're more than windows. We're windows, doors, hardy plank, and vinyl siding. But our number one product is always customer satisfaction. Visit us online at reliefwindows.com. Oh, by the way, we do shutters too.
It's no secret. The best oysters in Baton Rouge are at Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar. Enjoy mouth-watering South Louisiana flavor and oysters from all over the country. And don't forget our nightly drink specials. Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar, located in downtown Baton Rouge.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
Rolling right along here on a Wednesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. Half the work week in the rearview mirror. Thanks for hanging out with us. Mark Culkin, locked on USC, with us in 25 minutes to preview the Trojans. Excited for that conversation as we really get into that prep in earnest. Got some sound from Will Campbell that's really good coming up in about 40 minutes from right now. SEC Power Rankings coming up in hour number 2 as well. But right now, it's What If Wednesday.
Time, space, reality. It's more than a linear path. Where a single choice can branch out into infinite realities. Follow me and ponder the question. What if?
Alrighty, first one here. I'm not quite sure why we would even put this into existence, but what if Xavier Thomas muffs the first punt?
I mean, everybody in purple and gold is going to have the exact same thought. The first time the defense forces a punt, everybody's going to be so excited they forced a punt, and they're going to go, oh, God, we got to catch the kick. I mean, everyone's going to be thinking the exact same thing when that happens. And so when Xavier Thomas muffs the first punt, if that were to happen, I'd be really excited the defense got to stop, and I'd be crestfallen that they once again sent somebody back there that muffed the punt to start the season. That can't happen again. The streak has to be reversed.
If that happens, it's almost like it reminds me of the Alabama run of just having not good kickers, and it just doesn't make any sense. Like it
just gets in your brain.
There's no logical reason as to why that this should happen for this long. These are all different players. Like it doesn't make any sense. It's just like there's a curse or something on LSU punt returners. I didn't want to read that one, but we talked about it. I think it's going to be okay, though. Xavier Thomas is going to field his punts, and like we said, he's going to return two kicks for touchdowns, so not worried about that at all. Moving on to the next one. What if you have 16 against a 10 in blackjack?
I hit that. Like I don't really make many decisions at the blackjack table. The decisions are already pre-made for me. I sit there and I tap or wave based on just what the book says. Now, I can't swear the book says that you always hit 16, but I think it does against the 10. I always do it. I don't ever look at the board or see, like, if I have a 16 and they've got 7, 8, 9, or 10 showing, I'm hitting. Like, that's just going to happen every time. I'm not sometimes hitting, or maybe I'm more 15. Like, I'm hitting that every single time. Let's keep on the blackjack, because a lot of people are going to be playing a lot of blackjack that are listening to this show. How do you feel about people, quote unquote, not playing by the book if you're sitting at the table?
I don't know. I don't think. Well, I think it's okay. It doesn't bother me that much.
So here's my thing on it, because people get so mad if you don't play by the book. Now, I don't have to deal with it because I always play by the book. But I don't care if the guy at the end is taking cards or staying or doing whatever. Like my thing on it is he's just as likely to create a good thing for me as a bad thing for me. It doesn't only go bad if a guy stays on 12 against a 9. Like, he could be making sure that the bus card stays with the dealer. Like, you don't know, but people have gotten this thing in their brains where, like, every time a guy doesn't play by the book, it automatically screws the whole table. Right. You don't know what the cards are yet. It could help everybody out. And to think that everybody's going to play exactly the same is not going to happen. So, like, again, I don't ever get dirty looks or people yelling at me or leaving the table because I do play by the book. But, like, I don't care what you do at the table. I'm just going to do whatever I do.
Yeah, it's their money. They can choose to waste it or burn it however they want to. Moving on, what if LSU holds USC to 21 points?
That'll be an interesting show on Monday, won't it?
It would be. We would all look really dumb.
Yeah, it would be awesome. I would love looking dumb. Awesome. Love to look dumb when LSU does well and I pick against them. That would be incredible if they could do it. And it would be even more incredible if they could do it in a non-fluky way. If USC, snaps it over the quarterback's head twice or something and turns the ball over in fluky ways that LSU didn't force, that's one thing. But if they go out there and they're really competent and they cover a little bit and they get some pass rush and stop the run a little bit, it would just, we've just been tossing hypotheticals against the wall for literally 8 months. Starting in January, you're tossing hypotheticals off the wall. Once you hired a new defensive coordinator, a new defensive staff, and brought in some transfers, and it's just been kind of can they get to be decent? Can they be a mediocre defense? Can they be a top 50 defense? And we won't know those exact answers on Sunday, but if they hold USC to 21, you can have a pretty frank conversation about stark changes that have gone on over the last 8 months. But until we see it, there's not really much else we can do.
All right, moving on. We've got some from the chat here. These are all opinions of the chat, not ours, if anyone wonders about them. First one here. What if LSU forces a 3-and-out on USC's first drive? All caps, how jacked will you be? Question mark, question mark, question mark.
I remember when Matt Canada came in to run the LSU offense, and they were running all these motions and had the spread.
Linemen
and
moving.
And I remember I was watching them play BYU in front of the and I was looking at my TV, and I could only see 6 BYU defenders on my TV screen. And I went, oh my God, I've been staring at 9 guys in my TV screen for 17 years, it feels like, and they finally spread the field. It would probably feel something like that. Last year, I've talked about this a lot, but last year's defense made me feel a way that I have not felt about LSU football in decades, which was almost an apathy towards the failures on defense. I looked at it and finally went, I can't emotionally invest in these guys when they never get a stop. I refuse to get pissed off 8 times a game on touchdown drives. I'm just not going to do that.
No.
I just assume they're not going to score. If they don't, I assume they are going to score. And if they don't, then I'll be thrilled. But I'm not going to get ticked about it. And I don't want to feel like that anymore.
Yeah, I agree. However, the way you felt about the BYU game with only 6 guys in the box with Matt Canada, that didn't exactly pan out to be as happy as we would have expected.
Well, you get in the yelling match in the locker room against Troy,
not great.
And things happen. They abandoned motion and lost to Troy, but it looked good for a drive.
It did. Moving on to the next one here. What if the post-game show was caller-driven like it should be, which is what this person's opinion obviously is.
Yeah, we pulled the plug on that on the network. We're just going to go ahead and read off some tweets. You get some real sauced-up people making some phone calls at that
especially
point.
After a loss.
Some people like that, some people don't, but it is what it is. That's what the Eagle 98.1 Game Day call-in show is for, that it goes after me. You're looking for drunk folks? They get an hour and a half to have some more drinks while me and Brandon and Marlon are on, and then they can call and yell at Charlie and Richard Dixon. So I enjoy that portion of it. I listen to those guys on the way home every single game day, but we don't do it on the network, and that's okay.
Yeah, I do not envy the producer job of having to be there on the dump button at the ready.
Be vigilant
when you got those guys calling in. Moving on here, the last one. This one's from Nookie, who always seems to have an interest in your family life, Hunt. What if Myers wants a sibling?
He's in luck. One coming in March of 2025.
All
so
right.
We are very, very much excited about that. Myers has been told that the baby is the size of a strawberry currently.
I'm sure he comprehends that.
He did.
Perfectly.
He told me as we were looking at the geese crossing the road yesterday that one of them was a mama geese and had a baby the size of a strawberry.
Wow, look at
in
this.
that geese. So I don't think, who knows what geese he was pointing at and whether or not that was a male or female, and probably not pregnant, but he was projecting that upon the geese.
Great.
So he's excited. We're
Good
excited.
development there.
Nice job in the chat there, Nookie, who just fired that in there, I think unprompted. But yeah, we're very, very excited to welcome the 4th member of our family. Do I count the cat?
Yeah, of course, man. 5th
member of our family in March of 2025. So just in time for some conference baseball, we'll get the newest Palmer. So very much looking forward to that. All right, that's it for What If Wednesday. Appreciate y'all for being part of that. When we come back, we got Saints practice squad news. To keep Charlie Smith, he kicks it really far. We'll tell you about it coming up next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Got to visit LeBear's Baton Rouge Casino this summer for exciting live sports action. They got the biggest screens around, and ESPN Bet is live in Louisiana. You honestly had to visit LeBear's Baton Rouge Casino coming up tomorrow, because I'll be there watching college football at LeBear's in the sports book from 7 to probably about 10 o'clock tomorrow. So if you're looking for something to do, want to watch some football, come onto the sports book in LeBear's tomorrow. And I want y'all to download the Cover 5 app on your phone. I have downloaded the app, and we're getting into it this weekend with week 1 in college football. I have got my 5 picks locked in. You can compete against me. You can compete against yourself, and there is cash on the line. You can win $500 every single week. So download the Cover 5 app and get your picks in before the start of action this college football week 1. If you're not a member, get the Penn Play app today. LeVare's Baton Rouge Casino, your live sports headquarters. Bring your crew for all the action. Must be 21 or older. Got a gambling problem? Call 877-770-STOP.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared toward seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
Back to school savings at Bayou Ford. $12,000 off F-150. $12,000 off the new 2024 Ford F-150. And $10,000 off Expedition. All new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a complimentary extended warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
At Relief Windows, we're more than windows. We're windows, doors, hardy plank, and vinyl siding. But our number one product is always customer satisfaction.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
All right, let's close up shop here. Hour number 1 of the Hunt Palmer Show on this Wednesday with some Saints news and notes. Biggest news probably, I think, name-wise, the Saints signed Kenny Nwangwu, who was an all-pro returner with the Vikings back in 2022. He's got 3 kick return touchdowns in his career in the NFL in 3 seasons. He's a running back by trade. Didn't get a chance to do a lot of that with Minnesota. But he's an explosive playmaker and a guy that the Saints are going to bring in is just a 26-year-old to add some depth to that running back room. So I think that's a good add for the Saints, trying to get some more playmakers in at the running back spot because it's been kind of so disheveled and disorganized and injured throughout all of training camp. So Kenny Nwangwu is a good add there for the Saints. The rest of the practice squad, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So I'm a couple names short here on the practice squad, trying to take notes as I can while we're on the air and these are happening. But some of the bigger names the Saints have signed back to this practice squad, Jonathan Abram, the safety, who was a starter last year for the New Orleans Saints, has been brought back on the practice squad. It's pretty likely he's going to be elevated pretty quickly. That's a guy they're gonna get to the field at some point, whether it's injury related or just because he's good enough to be on the active roster. Ugo Amadi has been brought back. I thought the best story probably was Jacob Kibodi being brought back on the practice squad. We know he had a monster game on Sunday. He's a Baton Rouge guy from right here, Christian Life, played at Louisiana Lafayette, had a great preseason finale. That's another guy at running back that they're going to get into the mix and could be available for them in a pinch if they need him. Draft pick Josiah Aziram at offensive tackle has been brought back on the practice squad. Shane Lemieux also on the offensive line. One of the guys that we thought might make the 53 that didn't was a little bit of a surprise yesterday was Kyle Hergel. He's an offensive guard. He's going to be brought back on the practice squad as well. Shamar John Charles at cornerback. Equiminius St. Brown at wide receiver. The Saints did not lose anyone to waivers. Now, you can take that any way that you'd like. You can suggest that the Saints didn't have anybody good enough for anybody to claim them off waivers, or that the Saints were fortunate to get guys through waivers. But any way, this is starting to take shape as the practice squad. Charlie Smith's the name I did not mention. Charlie Smith did make the practice squad for the New Orleans Saints. They want to kind of keep him around. It's just a very intriguing prospect. Charlie Smith is like the 19-year-old 6'6" right-hander that throws 100 miles an hour. Like, he can't throw it over the plate at times, and he doesn't really throw a slider at this point, but he just throws really hard, and you feel like there's something you can develop within him. It's the same thing with Charlie Smith kicking. You know, back in the open practice at Ullman Stadium, he kicked a 65-yard field goal. There's certainly a lot of guys that can kick 65-yard field goals, and Charlie Smith is one of them. Now, you look at the kicking situation, and you feel like Blake Grupe's got that under control, but you never know. One, you can lose it at any point, and two, you can get hurt. So having Charlie Smith around is a good deal, and it's a good story. He comes from that overseas program that the NFL is trying to implement. Saints gave him a shot, and he's earned an opportunity to come in and continue with the team, continue to work, continue to develop, and potentially to help the Saints at some point moving forward in the future. So the guys that I think that could make an impact on this team probably would take an injury or potentially a move here or there, but Jonathan Abram for sure. I think Kyle Hergel for sure, Equiminius St. Brown for sure, and Ugo Amadi for sure at this point. I can't promise you I've got a comprehensive list of the Saints practice squad. Again, this is fluid and it's happening throughout the day while we're on the air. I'm trying to make notes as we go through segments and do things. But the good news for the Saints is they did not lose anyone to waivers that they were hoping to kind of use the term sneak through waivers. They didn't have to do that with anyone. The one guy that you thought potentially could be a casualty there they ended up keeping on the roster was Mason Tipton. That's a guy who was fantastic early in camp, got hurt, but the Saints paid him a good bit. There was some real competition in the market for Tipton to get him into camp, and the Saints won that competition, got him in. He showed what he could do. He's got some similar traits to Shaheed and Olave, and he's a little bit undersized. He runs really well and is shifty, and that's kind of what they do. But the Saints didn't have to go that route of putting him through waivers in the practice squad to get him back. They just have him on that roster. So this is a fluid situation. As we know, that cut down day does not indicate that that's exactly the unit that you're going to take onto the field against Carolina. Any of the guys that I mentioned, should there be an injury over the next 10 days, would be in line to go out there and play. Some of this is developmental. Some of this is depth. Like, I think Josiah Zeram's just a guy they liked in the draft process. They liked his size. They liked his traits, but he's kind of a project. He comes from a smaller school. You come into camp, you have your good days, have your not so good days, and he's probably not ready to help the big roster. But they like some of the things that he can do. So you keep him on the practice squad, you continue to develop him, and you hope that eventually he molds into a really quality player. I think probably the same goes for he and Charlie Smith in that way. So if you're looking for the Saints that are going to be on the practice squad, you're looking for all your Saints coverage, you can find it at LouisianaSports.net. Ross is doing a fantastic job over there at keeping things updated. There's a lot of interesting stuff on LouisianaSports.net as of this morning. I've got a couple of pieces up. One is on Will Campbell. He had some fantastic quotes yesterday that we're going to get to on the air in the second hour, about 20 minutes from right now. He's talking about not going to Caesar's Palace and going for a fight. I've got a story up on that. Chris Marler's got a piece up. That's the top 5 SEC impact transfers on offense. LSU has one of those. You can read the piece and find out who it is. Some Dennis Allis down. And then Matt had Phillip Wright, LSU commitment from Destrehan, on his show on Friday. That's transcribed and put up on the site as well. So a lot of interesting stuff up at LouisianaSports.net. Highly recommend that y'all go check that out. It is free to take your LSU, Saints, and SEC football content whenever it is that you want it, and you can certainly find it on your mobile devices as well. That'll put hour number 1 in the books. It was a fast-moving first hour. It was a fun first hour. I opened the show with some teleconference news from Brian Kelly. Chris Hilton moving towards being available, but not ready to commit to him being able to play on Sunday, and he had some things to say about Kyle Parker as well, the impact Bo Davis is having on LSU's defensive line, DJ Chester at center, and what they've liked out of him so far. All that's in the first segment. You can also find it on YouTube at Hunt on LSU. JD Piquel from On3 Sports talked a lot of ball. We talked Florida, Miami. We talked Georgia, Clemson. He likes the dogs big in that one. Talked A&M, Notre Dame. Talked LSU, SC. So go check that out. What if Wednesday? What if Xavier Thomas muffs the first punt? We don't have to talk about that, but we did in the last segment. If you missed any of that, along with our Saints report, you can catch it on demand. 1045ESPN.com's on demand tab, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google. Wherever you find your sound, you can always find us as well as on YouTube. Just search Hunt Palmer Show, like, subscribe, rate, and review. We certainly do appreciate it. That sound from Will Campbell I talked about, it's coming up in 20 minutes. My SEC Power Rankings, the initial ones that are going to live throughout the season that I'm going to have to revisit in December. They're coming at you in 35 minutes. But when we come back, we're diving into Southern Cal. Mark Culkin covers USC for Locked On USC, and we're going to talk about Lincoln Riley in his third year. What's LSU's opponent looking like on Sunday? Mark will tell us. Come back after SportsCenter. Hope your Wednesday's going well. It's the Hunt Palmer Show.
Bayou Chrysler's Dodge Jeep Ram has back-to-school savings like $16,000 off 25 Ram 1500 trucks. We're open for business in our beautiful new showroom and taking $16,000 off. All new Bayou vehicles come with a complimentary extended warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
There's nothing chill about a hot, sweaty line. Unless you add Mountain Cold Refreshment. Coors Light. Choose chill.
It's no secret. The best oysters in Baton Rouge are at Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar. Enjoy mouth-watering South Louisiana flavor and oysters from all over the country. And don't forget our nightly drink specials. Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar, located in downtown Baton Rouge.
It's an everyday thing here. We work horses in the mornings and we work on the property during the day, and without these John Deere tractors, you know, it'd almost be impossible to keep up with the place. I've dealt with some of the other colors and stuff, and I never really got the response back that I get from John Deere, you know. We really enjoy dealing with Sunshine. They're good people. They always check on us and make sure our equipment's running, and we love them. Flip the switch and learn more about what it means to be powered by Sunshine at sunequip.com.
When it comes to ending cancer, we push forward, always working together for you. That's why our cancer experts at Ochsner have clinically integrated with MD Anderson Cancer Center. This means advanced cancer care, including access to life-saving clinical trials and integrating care to treat the whole you. Introducing Ochsner MD Anderson Cancer Center. Long live you.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
This is SportsCenter.
I'm Christine Lisi. Breaking news, the Steelers have named Russell Wilson as their starting quarterback for the season opener against the Falcons. Justin Fields will be the backup. The two were in competition for the job throughout the preseason for coach Mike Tomlin.
It was a difficult decision, but not difficult in a negative way, to be quite honest with you. It was difficult in a positive way. The decision was difficult because of what they're capable of doing. The decision was difficult because of how they conducted themselves, as opposed to the things that they fall short in terms of capabilities or negative conduct.
Patriots coach Gerard Mayo says he's picked QB1 but will not tell the team until tomorrow whether it's Jacoby Brissett or Drake May. Bengals receiver Jamar Chase not practicing today, one day after coach Zach Taylor said he would be a full participant at practice this week. Chase looking for an extension a hold-in for much of training camp. Oklahoma coach Brent Venables declined to say today if running backs coach DeMarco Murray will serve his NCAA one-game suspension for Friday's season opener against Temple for recruiting violations. Baseball Royal starter Michael Lorenzen put on the IL with a hamstring strain.
Hey everybody, it's Freddie Coleman, and coming up Thursday on Unsportsmanlike, it's College Football Preview Week. We'll answer this question: what do Lincoln Riley of USC and Ryan Day of Ohio State need to do to keep their jobs? It's Unsportsmanlike, Thursday at 6 a.m. Eastern Time on ESPN Radio, ESPN2, and ESPNU.
Now, the Hunt Palmer Show.
Yes! I feel like I've been waiting for this my entire life.
You're listening to the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Jolly good fun. Jolly good.
Locking down the middle of the day.
America's favorite daytime fun show.
Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio. This is Hunt Palmer.
We're inching ever closer to LSU and USC from out in Las Vegas. Sunday night can't come soon enough. Tigers and Trojans kicking off the 2024 season. Year 3 for Brian Kelly and Lincoln Riley, and a big year for both programs. Covering the Trojans for Locked On USC is Mark Culkin. He's out in L.A. Good enough to give us a few minutes. Mark, thanks so much for the time. How are you?
I'm great. How are you doing today, Hunt?
We're doing quite well. We're trying to get to the weekend to watch some football. We'll get there one way or another. I'm curious, obviously a huge year down here in Baton Rouge for Brian Kelly in year 3 and a lot to replace. A lot of the same narratives in L.A. No, it's a big year for Lincoln Riley, and they've got a lot to replace, but there's a lot of excitement, I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean, you could hold up a mirror to both teams, and if you didn't know who was wearing which helmet, you could say they're staring at each other. The similarities are uncanny as far as both are replacing their Heisman-winning quarterbacks. Both are replacing their leading wide receivers. Both teams have question marks on the defensive side of the ball. Both programs replace their defensive coordinators. So, yeah, should be a lot of fun this Sunday.
Let's start on the SC defense. What were the steps that were taken to try to correct what was an awful unit last year?
First step is admitting you have a problem, and that was Lincoln Riley admitted he had a problem, and he had to get rid of Alex Grinch. So during the offseason, they went out and I'm using Coach Lincoln Riley's words, a defensive staff that is second to no one. He went out and hired away Danton Lynn from UCLA. In 1 year, Coach Lynn took UCLA's really poor defense, transformed it into the 11th best overall defense in the country, and then number 2 rushing defense. And he did that in 1 year. So we're hoping out here in LA that he can have a similar effect across town. Now, backing up D'Anton Lynn, you have Eric Henderson, defensive line coach. Coach Riley was able to convince the head coach at North Dakota State to put your 2 national championships in your back pocket. Come be my linebacker coach. And then as well, we think he updated, he updated the secondary with Doug Belk as the new defensive backs coach. So a lot of changes. That was the first thing. Put in the new scheme. Design the scheme around the players you have on your roster rather than trying to put a square peg into a round hole. So that's what we're looking forward to, is just seeing a team that knows how to be in position, knows how to tackle, and looks like a Division I football team playing defense.
Physically, is this USC unit talented enough to implement all the things that coaching staff wants to do? That's the question down here in Baton Rouge. I'm curious if it's the same in Southern California.
Physically, yes, they are. I mean, they're going to look the part when they step off the bus. They're going to have a bunch of guys that say, hey, you know what? That looks like an SEC type of player. We won't know until they get, hit in the face. That's just the bottom line. You could look the part, but, if you look like Tarzan but play like Jane, what does that make? What does that matter?
Who are the top probably 2 impact players on this Southern California defense?
So the big name up front, I think everybody knows, is Bear Alexander. He's going to be the defensive tackle. He transferred over to USC from Georgia. In the middle, you also have at linebacker Easton Mascarenas-Arnold, who transferred over from Oregon State. He was all-conference selection in the Pac-12 last year. Another name to keep an eye on is at safety, actually both safety spots, Kamari Ramsey, who came over from UCLA, very familiar with the Campbell system, as well as all-conference safety Achille Arnold. The strength of USC's defense is definitely their secondary. There's no question about it. They're deep, they're long, they're veteran. In fact, Doug Belk said he plans to play 8 to 10 guys regularly in the rotation. At cornerback, they're long. I mean, everybody is 6'2" or longer. It's really an amazing group. But those are the key guys to kind of focus on the defensive side of the ball.
All right, let's flip to Lincoln Riley's baby. It doesn't matter who the quarterback's been over the last decade. He's put up a lot of yards and a lot of points. Now, obviously, you lose Caleb Williams, but Miller Moss steps in. Is the expectation that they don't really miss a beat?
Well, we watched the Holiday Bowl, and when Miller stepped in, it kind of looked like he was just the Heisman in waiting. I mean, it was 370 yards, 6 touchdown passes, and he was doing it mainly with freshman wide receivers. He still had Taj Washington out there helping him out, but yeah, when Lincoln Riley has a quarterback, and that quarterback has earned Riley's trust, you're always going to have a dog in the hunt, so to speak, to be a Heisman contender. And as you stated, Coach Riley knows how to coach the quarterbacks, and he knows how to get wide receivers open. So I think it's going to be I don't think you're going to see a significant drop-off, let's just put it that way. There's a big difference between Caleb Williams and Miller Moss athletically, but they play the position differently as well. Miller is much more your cerebral in the pocket. Hey, let's execute this play and not try and force anything. He's not going to extend plays with his feet like you would with Caleb Williams, or in LSU's case last year with Jaden Daniels.
I'm pretty upfront with my my listeners. My watching window for college football is Central Time, like 11 to 2, because I do a 2-hour pregame show for LSU. I watch LSU for 4 hours, and then I do a 2-hour postgame show. And things that go on during that time, I can't watch a ton of. So I haven't watched much of USC over the last 2 years. I'm curious, tempo-wise. I know that Lincoln Riley does like to spread and does like to throw it and will run the ball. Do they want to play fast?
Well, it's a really interesting question, Hunt, because this is something I've been discussing with some of my peers out here on the West Coast, is the new helmet communication device. How is that going to affect Coach Riley's play calling? Typically, they like to, use tempo. But is this, as they transition into this new system, is that going to slow the game down a little bit? You have a small sample size. We watched Georgia Tech versus Florida State last week, and I kind of got the sense that it was slowing the game down. So I'm interested to see how that plays out. To your question, to your actual point, Coach Riley likes to run tempo, and he will mix it up. If he can, get guys up at the line and just kind of run a 2-minute offense, yes, he can do that. If the offensive line is working and they're opening up holes in the run game, he can slow it down and create scoring drives that, don't exist in the 2-minute world. They can create scoring drives that are 4 or 5 minutes long.
LSU secondary, I don't know if there are pros in that unit. There could be, and they might be really young, but I don't know. Usually we know the 3 guys in LSU secondary that are going to play in the NFL. I don't know who those guys are right now. Does USC have pros at wide receiver?
Well, as I mentioned, they have last year, the freshmen were the guys that Miller Moss became intimate with during the practice reps because, second team reps, Miller Moss was second team. Those 4 guys now are sophomores. The names are Zachariah Branch, Deuce Robinson, Jacoby Lane, and Mekhi Lemon. All 4 of them are considered NFL-level wide receivers. Zachariah Branch is your slot guy. You can move him all over the field. We call him a human joystick. He also excels on special teams. He is a threat to return a punt or kickoff return. Deuce Robinson was actually the number 1 tight end in the class of 2023. USC brought him in as a big wide receiver, 6'6", 220 pounds. You've got Jacoby Lane, 6'4", 200 pounds, 48-inch vertical, arms that when he extends them, they don't stop. And the Mekhi Lemon, the best way I can describe him is if you're familiar with Amon-Ra St. Brown, he is a clone of that style, and he's actually a little bit bigger. So to answer your question, yes, USC has NFL-level wide receivers that are going to test LSU secondary.
What do you think Lincoln Riley's biggest concern is on Sunday?
Oh, the defense, without a doubt. He needs to see how much of an improvement this team has made from the end of last season with the new staff, all the off-season work they put in with the weight gain, and are they ready to come out of the chute up against a team against like LSU, who historically is always going to have dudes on their roster. Again, these teams are so similar the way they mirror each other. Both were really bad on defense last year. Both have explosive offenses. So from Lincoln Riley's perspective, if his defense can get some stops, he's probably going to feel better as the game progresses. If the defense can't stop the run game and LSU's O-line can lean into them, wear them down by the fourth quarter, the concerns are going to keep going.
What kind of crowd do you think USC is going to bring to Vegas? It's drivable.
Well, I'll tell you what, the game's sold out. We know that, right?
Yep.
65,000 tickets. I think it's going to be pretty evenly split. Maybe USC 60-40 just because of proximity. But, LSU fans, they travel well. They enjoy Las Vegas. I'm looking forward to it. For me, this game has been 20 years in the making. I remember the Split National Championship. And, like I said, I've been waiting for this game for 20 years. Will it settle the score? No. But it's going to be fun for the fans.
It's going to be a blast. Yeah, no question about it. Safe travels to Las Vegas, and we'll talk on Sunday on the pregame show, Mark. We appreciate the time.
Look forward to it, Hunt. Thanks again.
He's Mark Culkin, locked on USC. If you're looking for your information on the Trojan side of things as we get ready, if you're traveling, need a lot to listen to, certainly we got you covered here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. But from the USC perspective, Mark does a fantastic job, and we appreciate a little bit of time. He's going to join me about an hour before the game on the pregame show, so looking forward to getting a scene setter there from Allegiant Stadium on Sunday. That's a look at the USC Trojans. When we come back, Will Campbell had a lot to say yesterday. We'll talk about it next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Audio Video Security Solutions, AVSSLA.com. Always want you to check out the Instagram for Audio Video Security Solutions. It's AVSS_BR. Just fantastic information and a real sense of the capabilities that they have. If you've got an outdoor area that you like to spend a lot of time on, the temperature's about to cool down. Maybe some of you like to watch LSU games in the fall outdoors, but you're not real comfortable with the seating situation out there and how the sound works and where the television's supposed to be. And they can help you with all that at Audio Video Security Solutions. If you've got kind of a pool house sitting out there, if you've got a great outdoor kitchen area, or you just got a place that you want to make into an outdoor viewing situation, Audio Video Security Solutions can help you with selecting the television, mounting the TV, getting it wired for sound, and making sure that your house is the place to watch football games this fall and moving forward. Mitchell Fisher and his team have phenomenal customer service. They're a local company right here in Baton Rouge, and when I give you the phone number, it's his cell phone number. I mean, who does that? Who gives the owner's cell phone number out over the air in a radio show? Well, Audio Video Security Solutions does, because Mitchell Fisher is going to be involved in the project that y'all undertake. It's 225-439-7920. Again, 225-439-7920. It's audio video security solutions. Check them out online, avssla.com.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
It's an everyday thing here. We work horses in the mornings and we work on the property during the day, and without these John Deere tractors, it'd almost be impossible to keep up with the place. I've dealt with some of the other colors and stuff, and I never really got the response back that I get from John Deere, We really enjoy dealing with Sunshine. They're good people. They always check on us and make sure our equipment's running, and we love them. Flip the switch and learn more about what it means to be powered.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
Yeah, like Coach Saban said it on TV the other day, you can shake a tree and find players in this state. We're going to reload. As much as we love Malik, Brian, Jaden, they're not here. And we can't make an excuse for ourselves because they're not here. Oh, well, we lost because we don't have them. No, we have Kyron Lacey, C.J. Daniels, Xavier, Nutt, all the guys down the list, Chris. And we have to go and play our football, and all of those guys can take a game over. And we just got to go do that.
That's Will Campbell, LSU Junior All-American left tackle. Will had a lot to say yesterday. I was there for a lot of it. That portion was for the television crews that were assembled. When he got over to the print side, he had some more to say, and a lot of it's gotten a lot of run that's been on the internet. If you've been on Twitter at all in the last 20 hours or so, you've seen a bunch of this. But Will it's the first time I've talked to him, and it was really insightful. He answers the questions. He's incredibly confident. He's not cocky. He's fairly soft-spoken, but he's direct, and he's pointed. He knows what he wants to say. He believes in himself, and he very much believes in this team. And the biggest soundbite that we've gotten out of this Will Campbell interview from yesterday was the plan when they get on the ground in Las Vegas. He was asked, like, what is your message to the team? And this is where he went with it.
Really, I mean, everybody knows what we got to do. You know, we talk about it in the O-line room all the time. You know, just we got to come out ready to fight, and that's the end of it. I mean, as soon as we, get off that plane, it's a fight. No way around it. I mean, we know what we're there for. We're not there to go to Caesar's Palace. We're there to go get in a fist fight, and everybody in this building knows it, and that's just what it is.
That's pretty powerful stuff. And he said that, and that immediately got posted to social media that we're here to go get in a fist fight. And Bear Alexander tweeted back, and he had like some ninjas and some purple ghosts or something. I don't know exactly what the inference was there from Bear Alexander, but he saw it, and they know. And Will Campbell's really, really confident. There was one bite with the writers, and it's better to just kind of talk about the exchange than it is to play the audio. But one of the print writers said, Coach Kelly said y'all have had a little trouble. Said you've had a little trouble blocking Harold Perkins in practice, and Will goes, Who's had trouble? And he said the offensive line kind of as a whole, and Will Campbell says, we can block anybody. We don't have to worry about that. And that's kind of the tone that Will Campbell set the entire time he was doing media. There was a solid confidence rooted in that offensive line's ability that is going to be evident, I think, when they take the field. And they know that they're going to have to play really well. LSU's team does not work this year if that offensive line doesn't dominate. You can't have a brand new quarterback jump in there and play great if the offensive line's got holes in it. Jaden Daniels can fix that. He can't. You can't have a poor running game and go 3 and out and put yourself in bad third downs and then put the defense back on the field. This team does not work if they can't play great on the offensive line. And Will Campbell was asked to kind of describe the offense in one word, and it kind of takes the position that he's taking there with the offensive line.
I'll say explosive. There's a lot of explosive playmakers, not only on the outside, but the inside in our running back room. And, like I said, we're going to run the ball. So, I mean, that's not something we're hiding or, trying to keep quiet. I'm telling everybody right now we are going to run the football. So you can take what you want with that. And, Caleb, Josh, Caden, all these guys, they're all big, powerful, fast guys. And, I'm just excited for them.
We're going to run the ball. We're not trying to be quiet about that. We're not trying to hide that. And that, I think, exemplifies what I've been saying for the last couple of weeks. And I will continue to say it on tomorrow's show, and I will continue to say it on Friday's show, and then I'll get on the pregame and I'll say it. And between that now and then, I'll have written it twice. They have to run the ball. They have to. And Will Campbell has talked about the fact that they're going to run the football. And he talked about we're going to line up and we're going to block you. Whoever you are in front of us, we're going to line up and we're going to block you. And we don't have trouble blocking anybody. I've got a piece up on LouisianaSports.net right now with some more quotes from Will Campbell just talking about the mantra that offensive line is living by, which is basically just put it on us and we'll get it done. He talked about USC's defense as well.
Yeah, I mean, USC is a good football team, and, it's somebody who we're not very familiar with. New defensive coordinator. They got a bunch of new playmakers, and like I said, they're a good football team, and we know that we got to come out, execute, and, play our style of football, and, we think if we do that, we're going to be fine.
Yeah, they do that, they'll be fine. That was a little bit more cliche, but I think this is not. They asked Will Campbell what his personal goals were this year, and this was his answer.
Win a national championship. That's it.
That's it. This is a guy who's got the possibility to win an Outland Trophy. This is a guy who's got a chance to be a first-team All-American. This is a guy who's got a chance to be the first-round pick as an LSU offensive lineman since 1998. He could be the highest LSU offensive lineman ever selected in the draft. Like, there are a lot of things on the table for Will Campbell right now. And he's just talking about, hey, we're going to win a national championship. Will Campbell sat down yesterday and said a lot of people aren't talking about us, and that's something we want to change. He talked about the fact that he's gotten off to a bad start in the last 2 openers. The team has, not necessarily him, and that weighs on guys. That's a tough thing. And in this sport, which is as unforgiving as really any sport that we have in American sports culture. I mean, in the NBA, you can lose a lot of games and win a championship. In the NFL, you can lose a lot of games, win a championship. You can lose like 8 of them. In Major League Baseball, you can lose 80 and win a championship. In college baseball, you can lose 30. College basketball, you can lose 20 or so, and if you win the conference tournament, like you're not deflated by one loss in any of these that we're talking about here. Golf, there's just another tournament next week. In college football, you, in the past, lose 2 games, you're toast. Certainly this year, you lose 3, your goals are toast. And for this group to have gone, everybody on this team, save Josh Williams and John Emery, basically. Is anybody else on the team there in 19? I don't know, any other 60-year seniors that I'm not thinking of?
I think it's just Emery and Williams.
I mean, those guys were on the 19 team that beat Georgia Southern. Everybody else has lost the first game every time they've been here. That's a burden to carry. And I know that you listening as LSU fans feel that, and certainly they understand it in the locker room. Everybody knows that's been a bad taste that they've gotten in their mouth immediately, and they put themselves behind the 8 ball immediately. Now, credit to the 2022 team to go rattle off 9 out of 10 and win the West. That's incredible. But your back was up against it. And, last year you rallied and you won 10 games, but the goal, as Will Campbell just said, is not to win 10 games. Will Campbell said 3 weeks ago, you win 10 games here, you get fired. I don't think that's his call as the left tackle. It's more of an athletic director situation. But that's case in point, like they believe you should achieve more than they've achieved. And it's hard to achieve in this sport when you take an early loss. It just is. And you're scheduling really tough games out of conference. You're not playing Nichols in week 1. You're not playing Grambling and Southern in week 1. Those are all week 2 games. You are coming right out of the chute, be prepared, ready to go and play. And they have not lived up to that to this point. But the energy that I got from Will Campbell yesterday, and look, he's probably the best player on the team. So he should carry himself with a ton of confidence. But there was almost an attitude to it. And again, read my piece up at LouisianaSports.net. I think it illustrates it a little bit more with some of the words that I've used there. But like, he walks in the room. It's a slow walk. You hear that Southern drawl that he's got, that Northeastern Louisiana drawl. And there's almost a quietness to him. But the words he's saying are heavy. And we want to win a national championship. We're here for a fist fight. We can block anybody that's away from us. Who's having trouble blocking Harold Perkins? Not me. Like, this is a dude who's kind of fed up with the stuff that's gone on for 2 years. That's just the energy that you get from Will Campbell the last 5 weeks. And he talked about growing into his leadership role, and he talked about the fact that he was a puppy and 18 years old when he started that first game, and that now he's not that anymore. He's a leader on the offense. I personally asked him yesterday about getting into the huddle and not having Jaden and Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas. They've been in the huddle the whole time he's been at LSU. And he said it was a little different in the spring. It was a little different in the spring. But Garrett's used to it now. He's worked with Garrett for a long time. And there are a lot of really confident guys. We played the bite right at the beginning about how good this offense can be with the playmakers that they've got. And Will Campbell's just not here to settle for anything less than playing great football. We'll see. I don't know a ton about the culture of LSU's football team because we're not there. How could I know what's going on in meeting rooms, what's going on in the locker room, what's going on in team meetings, what's going on the practice field now that we're locked out? It's hard for me to comment on that. And that's why last year we didn't comment on it a ton, and then the whole defensive staff got fired and all the players went to Twitter and basically threw a Twitter party. It's hard to know. But you feel like in year 3 with Brian Kelly, with all the things that they've put in place, with the buy-in that they should have and some of the older players that are there. Yesterday we talked to Josh Williams and Harold Perkins. We talked to Greg Penn, Will Campbell. I mean, that's a lot of experience that we talked to. That there's going to be an edge about this team to hit the ground running. That is worth no points. That is worth no wins. But the confidence I got from Will Campbell yesterday was palpable. And we'll see if it translates. We won't know until we get out on the field. But he didn't mince any words. They're ready for a fist fight. And we'll see if they can bring that to USC. USC teams of the past, Lincoln Riley teams of the past would not have been ready for that. The thought in Southern California is that they've remedied that. But again, we're all just waiting to see come Sunday night in Allegiant Stadium. If you're looking for LSU football content, you can always find it on YouTube, Hunt on LSU. Go ahead and subscribe to the channel. All of our LSU content will head right to your homepage every time you log in. Appreciate you for liking, subscribing, rating, and reviewing. That always helps us get our content in front of as many people as possible. Speaking of content, when we come back, my SEC Power Rankings. These are going to live on for 3 months. I got to get them right. That's next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Boudreaux's Electrical Services. Neil and Melissa, just about 40 years in the business. They're a certified Generac generator dealer. They are a premier Generac generator dealer. That means that they're in the top 3% nationwide in Generac generator sales. Call them at 985-397-1562. That's the number they've had for 40 years. 985-397-1562. If you're thinking, 985, I'm in the 225. That's fine, too. They've got a Gonzales location, 225-300-9389. I can make it easy on you. You just go to boudreauxelectrical.com. Get that Generac home standby generator put at your home or your business today and prevent the power outages that are a nuisance at the very least, make you completely inoperable at the worst. Whether you're riding out a storm here and want to make sure your power stays on, or a storm blows through and you have to evacuate, you want to come back to a cool house, the fridge and freezer are running, you can handle the television, it's functional. We've all come back to a house after evacuating that didn't have any power. That's a drag. Boudreaux's Electrical can help you out with that with a home standby generator from the folks at Generac. Every single Generac generator comes with a 7 to 10-year warranty. It's a lot of peace of mind that Boudreaux's Electrical can offer you. Check them out online at boudreauxelectrical.com.
When it comes to ending cancer, we push forward, always working together for you. That's why our cancer experts at Ochsner have clinically integrated with MD Anderson Cancer Center. This means advanced cancer care, including access to life-saving clinical trials and integrating care to treat the whole you. Introducing Ochsner MD Anderson Cancer Center. Long live you.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
There's nothing chill about a hot, sweaty line. Unless...
This is the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
Fired up to get out to Genesis of Baton Rouge later this afternoon. I'll be there from 4 to 6 hanging out. So if you're in the area, want to test drive a Genesis, come on by. We'll be there from 4 o'clock to 6 o'clock. Got some hats and cups and shirts and stuff to give away. So fired up to get out there to Genesis of Baton Rouge from 4 to 6 this afternoon. Join me, won't you? And I'm fired up that we're getting back into game week where our weekly segments can kick back off. We talk to JD Piquel every Wednesday, did that earlier in hour number 2, and every Wednesday at 2:30, I'm going to get into my SEC Power Rankings.
Hunt's SEC Power Rankings.
All right. This one will endure for a few months. We got to get it right, and it starts at the top.
The Georgia Bulldogs.
I'm not trying to be the smartest guy in the room here. Georgia has assembled a ridiculous amount of talent. They were exceptional last year. Probably should have been in the playoff, and if they were, they probably would have won the national championship. Carson Beck is really good at quarterback. They've got 5 stars everywhere. I'm a little worried about Brock Bowers not being there because that's a pretty good security blanket, but they got too many really good players, so I'm going with Georgia at number 1. Number 2.
Texas A&M!
Not Texas A&M.
The Texas Longhorns.
Beck hit the wrong button. You can blame him. For everybody that just ran their car off the road because I had Texas A&M number 2. That was Beck's fault, but that's okay. Texas is number 2. This is just like Georgia. I'm stargazing here for those that are familiar with that term in recruiting. They just got a lot of really good players, and their quarterback's good. So I take the fact that their quarterback's good, and they got a lot of really good players, and I'm just going to put them at the top. I'm not trying to reinvent the wheel here and throw hot takes all over the place. I think Georgia and Texas are going to be good football teams. Keep in mind, this has nothing to do with schedule, these power rankings. This is just purely who I think the best teams are. The schedule will jockey this thing around here and there, and teams will take losses, and teams will win games, and not all schedules created equal. But in terms of talent, I think those are the best 2 teams. I'll take them. Let's go to number 3.
The Alabama Crimson Tide.
The Tide has 4 offensive starters back on the line. Is that good or bad? They stunk last year on the offensive line, so we'll see. I don't have any idea what to make of Jalen Milroe. What I do know is they're going to run the ball, and Justice Haynes is really good. So I think Kalen DeBoer is a good coach. I think they've got enough good players. I think that Jalen Milroe is going to be productive, even though I don't think he's an NFL player. I think they're going to be just fine. Are they the juggernaut they were for 15 years? No. Are they one of the best 3 teams in the Southeastern Conference? To me, yes. I don't think any of those are hot takes. This is where it may start to get a little bit dicey at number 4.
The Tennessee Volunteers.
I'm buying all the Tennessee stock you're selling. I think they're a playoff team. I think Nico Iamaleava is going to be really good. I think he's got really good wide receivers to throw it to in Squirrel White and Brew McCoy. Cooper Mays is a really good center who's been there a long time, and they're going to plug Lance Hurd in there at left tackle. I believe in Josh Heupel's offensive system. Now, does it compromise the defense? Maybe, and I'll maybe be proven wrong with this, and they may not be able to get enough stops, but I think that they're going to score a lot of points this year. And they've gotten better defensive players than they had early in Josh Heupel's career. They probably got the best one in the entire SEC with James Pierce out on the edge. So give me the Vols as a 9-11-1, 10-2 type team. I think they're a playoff team, and I've got them as a number 4 team in the SEC. Number 5.
The Ole Miss Rebels.
Hotty toddy, they say. They've got 6 transfers that are going to start on their defense for Lane Kiffin. You know Walter Nolan. You know Princely Mamamele. I can't say his name. It's difficult. He was Florida's best edge rusher, and he's going to be good for Ole Miss. They've also got defensive back transfers who started for Houston and Oklahoma last year. Lane Kiffin's team has always been able to score. They don't look the part at the point of attack, and which is why they get dominated when they play the big elite teams like Georgia last year, like Bama in the past. They've tried to change that. They look the part this year. Whether they play it or not, I don't know. I think they're a fringe playoff team. I've got Ole Miss at number 5. Number 6.
The LSU Tigers.
Your Fighting Tigers of LSU. I probably am... I'm probably not quite as confident in the LSU offense as most of you are. I think they're going to be good. I think it's going to be a significant drop-off from the best in the country, but I still think they'll be good. I'm a little iffy on the defense too, but I do think it's going to be improved. I'm confident. My confidence is growing up front in the defense. It's fading in the back of the defense. We'll see how much the front can offset the back, especially early on in the first game against USC. I think LSU's a good team this year. I don't know that LSU's a playoff team this year. That's why I've got them at number 6. Number 7.
The Missouri Tigers.
This is probably lower than most folks have them. I think their offense will be good. Cook is good. Burden is good. And I don't think they're going to have much trouble replacing Cody Schrader. I know that'll offend Jacob Hester's sensibilities, but I think they can find another guy to plug in there and run the football in a good offensive scheme. The defense I'm concerned about with Missouri. They lose 5 starters. They lose Blake Baker. I'm just not ready to concede that Missouri can just do what I expect Georgia to do and find the next guy. I'm just not ready to say that. So I got Missouri at the number 7 spot because I think their defense does take a step back. Number 8.
The Oklahoma Sooners.
Phil Steele says Oklahoma's got the second best linebacker group in the country. They also have a guy that LSU really wanted in Dominic Williams at defensive tackle. That's a good start to the front 7 on defense for Oklahoma. On offense, they got to replace Jeff Levy, who was their offensive coordinator. And, oh, by the way, Dylan Gabriel doesn't play for them anymore. What is Jackson Arnold? We'll just have to see. You throw him in there in that group with a lot of young quarterbacks. I'm giving a lot of credence to Nico Iamaleava for not playing a lot. We'll see what Jackson Arnold can do. I think Oklahoma is a solid team. I don't think they're a playoff team. I've got them at number 8 in my power rankings. Number 9.
Texas A&M!
There are the Aggies. I think they win on Saturday against Notre Dame. We'll talk more about that on Friday's show. But losing Reuben Owens hurts them at running back, no question about it. It's going to be a big workload for Le'Veon Moss in the backfield. I think Connor Wigman is very good. Their offensive line has got to be a ton better than it's been the last 2 years. It was a really good offensive line back in 2020 when they had that really good season with Kellen Mond at quarterback. It has been bad since. They got to get better there. The defensive front looks really good for Texas A&M. Shamar Turner and Shamar Stewart were really good recruits, and they bring in Nick Scorton, who is the Big Ten sacks leader at Purdue. That's a big add as well. A&M should be good at the defensive front, and that means Mike Elko, a very good defensive coach, should have a pretty good defensive unit. I think A&M's going to be pretty good this year. I think they win 8 or 9 games, so give me the Aggies at number 9. Number 10.
The Kentucky Wildcats.
How good's Brock Vandagriff? I don't know. How good's Will Levis? I don't know. How good's O'Leary? They keep pulling these transfer quarterbacks that have big names. Are they any good? I'm not sure. I don't think that Kentucky has the Jimmies and Joes week in and week out to compete with the best teams in the league. Now there are more good teams in the league. I think they're probably an under 500 SEC team. That's where I kind of flip from teams that I really like in the top 9 to teams I don't like as much. And Kentucky starts that at number 10. Let's go to number 11.
The Florida Gators.
All right, let's try this again. Lost Princely Umanmielen. We'll try that. Princely Umanmielen was their best pass rusher. He's gone to Ole Miss. They do have 6 defensive starters back. Graham Mertz played well last year, but you got to do some more. You lose your top back, and he goes to Georgia in ATN, and now you've got to look up, and Montreal Johnson's going to take a big load of carries. Ricky Pearsall's gone. What does Eugene Wilson have in the tank? This is put up or shut up for Billy Napier. It's time to get things done. I don't believe in Florida this year. I think they're an average team. I think they're probably a 7-win team. Is that enough to get Billy Napier's job back? I'm not sure about that. They better get off to a good start coming up on Saturday against Miami. That's all we know. Number 12.
The Auburn Tigers.
The Auburn Tigers with Hugh Freeze. Hugh's got a mediocre quarterback. Peyton Thorne's just mediocre. That's who he is. They have not had a wide receiver go over 600 yards in a season for 3 years. That's atrocious. Their wide receiver play stunk last year. They brought in Cam Coleman, a 5-star. He's probably going to be their go-to target as a true freshman, but I still don't like their quarterback play. I think they're a year away from having the roster that you expect Auburn to have when they had their good teams. Until they upgrade at quarterback and really everywhere else, they're just a pretty mediocre to below average team. I got Auburn down at number 12. Number 13 is on LSU's schedule.
The South Carolina Gamecocks.
I ran out of music.
Yeah. Unfortunately, our music bed was a little too short there.
We can
all right.
fix that.
We'll get it back
We
up.
can fix that. South Carolina last year had the 12th scoring offense in the SEC. Keep in mind that was 14 teams. The 14th rush offense. Number 11 on third downs. That's all on offense, and it's terrible. And then on defense, they were number 9 in scoring defense and number 12 in passing defense. That's just bad across the board. Spencer Rattler, pretty good. We're seeing that in New Orleans right now. He probably covered up for things that were even worse than we know, and I don't know that they're ready to fix that. It just doesn't seem like a very good roster to me. LSU's going to see them early. I think this could be trouble for Shane Beamer. I hope he proves me wrong outside of the LSU game because I kind of like him. I think he seems like a pretty good dude and a decent soundbite, but I don't think their team's very good, so I got him down at number 13. Number 14, Mississippi State.
The Mississippi State Bulldogs.
They've only got 9 starters back total, as you would imagine, in a big coaching change, and they're going to put a lot on Blake Shapen's plate. He threw for 5,500 yards at Baylor, and Jeff Levy's a really good play caller, but they don't have the dudes they usually have up front on defense, and I just think that they're a year away from getting that talent in Mississippi State. They don't need a ton of it. because they never have a ton of it, but they need more than they've got right now. Most people have them a spot or two lower, but I think less of the next two teams than I do at Mississippi State, so I've got them up at number 14. Let's go to 15.
The Arkansas Razorbacks.
This has been pretty clear. I think the Hogs are going to be atrocious. I think they're bad at quarterback. I think they're bad at offensive line. Their playmakers are iffy. Isaiah Satania is a pretty good player at receiver. Luke Haas is a good tight end, but that's really all they think they got. On defense, it's Landon Jackson and who? I just don't trust them at all. Bobby Petrino's not going to be some sort of savior. He wasn't a savior in College Station last year. He's not going to be a savior in Fayetteville this year. He's a mercenary. Maybe he gets the job after Sam Pittman gets fired, but that's going to happen sooner rather than later because Arkansas is going to be BAD bad. 16.
The Vanderbilt Commodores.
This is a pretty tough stat to get through. Vanderbilt in their last 39 SEC games is 2-37. 2-37. I don't know how long they keep Clark Lee. I don't know how much they care about winning football games. It's almost impossible to do at Vanderbilt. New stadium's probably going to be cool, and the other team's going to fill it 3/4 worth once it's ready because nobody cares about Vanderbilt football and goes, and they're not going to win any games anytime soon. They are solidly anchored at the bottom of this at number 16 because they don't ever win any games. So those are your initial SEC power rankings here in late August. Beck, how's that going to look in December?
Well, Hunt, I think you definitely got the last one right. Vanderbilt.
Thank you for that. Vanderbilt last.
I think they will probably be the worst team, and I think Georgia will probably be the best team. So I think you got the bookends there.
How's the meat of the sandwich looking?
I will say that in the chat, obviously everyone very upset that LSU is at 6.
Yeah, it should have been at 2, right?
Probably should have been 2.
National championship contender.
No, I do, however, think that there, of course, is an argument between 4 and 6. I think you could have LSU at 4, and I think you could have Tennessee at 6. I don't think there's too much separating Tennessee and LSU. So I'm not going to fault you for having LSU at 6. Of course, LSU fans are gonna scoff at that. But
here's my thinking, and I'll just lay it out. I feel like I have a known in Josh Heupel's offense. That's going to be up-tempo and productive. I don't have a known on LSU's defense at all, and all my known from last year's offense is gone. I'm confident in it. I just don't have a known. I have a known with Tennessee, and they also have James Pierce who can wreck a game. So I think I'm just more bullish on Tennessee than most this year. I've been pretty upfront about that since media days. It could blow up in my face. They hadn't been relevant in 15 years. So we'll see. I guess they were 2 years ago. That was relevant until Hooker got hurt and they lost by 1,000 at South Carolina. But they haven't been a national championship team in a long time. So we'll see. But I'm bullish on them. We'll see. Sorry, chat. Did not mean to offend. But LSU can shut me up pretty quickly. They go out there and beat USC by 20 points, and I'll sing a different tune real quick. They'll move up 3 spots in the power rankings in a hurry if they do that. So we'll hope for that. We'll come back and close things out next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Highland Insurance Group, Jonathan Carbo and the Highland Insurance Group. When was the last time you went to Google and did a review of an insurance broker? Probably not very recently. Most people don't do that because they don't like dealing with insurance. That's different at the Highland Insurance Group. They've got 100 Google reviews and an impeccable rating because Jonathan Carbo and his team take care of their clients. If you're a business owner and you really don't like dealing with insurance, but you know you've got to have it, it's a necessary evil, but you're not really sure what it says, just that it's expensive, get the Highland Insurance Group on your team. Let Jonathan Carbo and his team go through your policies, see what you've got, understand what you need, and then make sure that you buy the correct insurance for your needs. Protection's the most important thing for insurance. You're trying to prevent the catastrophe, whether it's a cyber breach, the hurricane that comes through, the auto accident. Some of those things can derail you. If you don't have the right coverage, it can be an issue. Jonathan Carver and his team can help you at the Highland Insurance Group. They can help you with the property and casualty, as I'm telling you, and they can also help you with your employee and group benefits. They can be your one-stop shop, your one-stop brokerage. They're right here in Baton Rouge. Check them out online at highlandig.com. And you can go check out those Google reviews that I'm telling you about. People love to work with the Highland Insurance Group. Insurance, again, not the most fun thing. I did it for 7 years. I know. But you've got to have it, and you might as well work with somebody who knows what they're doing and be a trusted part of your team. It's Highland Insurance Group, Jonathan Carver and his team, highlandig.com, highlandig.com.
At Relief Windows, we're more than windows. We're windows, doors, hardy plank, and vinyl siding. But our number one product is always customer satisfaction. Visit us online at reliefwindows.com.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
It's time to make your picks for round 1 in this year's college football pick'em presented by Hooters. Make your picks today at 1045ESPN.com. Weekly winners will receive a Hooters wing party for 10 people. And the first place season-long champion will get a 75-inch 4K flat screen TV and soundbar, plus free Hooters wings for an entire year. The 2024 College Football Pick'em presented by Hooters and Rev will deliver our coverage live from Las Vegas starting in 2 days, Friday, August 30th with Off the Bench and After Further Review, and continuing Sunday, September 1st with Eagle 98.1 Game Day. Our coverage is also presented by Goodwood Men's Sexual Wellness. Watch us live on the 104.5 ESPN YouTube channel. Kickoff for the 2024 LSU football season live from Las Vegas with Rev and 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Got a station group text going right now. Jimmy and Charlie about to take off for Las Vegas right this very second. Jimmy said the odds are minus 180 that Haney does a cannonball into the pool when they get there. So we'll see what the results are on that. I don't know if I'm getting a lot of lettuce down on that, but you never know what happens when those limeritas start flowing. Anything can happen.
Island Haney, as they call him.
What happens in Vegas is what they say, unless the camera's there. All right, let's play Take It or Leave It.
All right, first one, 15 former Saints draft picks. This is from Jeff Duncan, by the way. 15 former Saints draft picks are projected to start for other teams this season. 4 of those were drafted within the last 5 years. The Saints roster / cap management. Take it or leave it.
I'm going to leave it. It's not great. I think the direction of the franchise is really, really good when they had such a solid core with Drew and Sean. Since that, it's just been wandering in the desert, and I don't think anybody's going to refute that. It just feels that way. Some of their early round picks have been misses. Some of the guys they've taken late and gotten rid of have caught on elsewhere. The cap situation is, I think, improving because they're not continuing that trend, but it's been a rough go for the last couple of years, and I think it's going to be a rough go starting, well, not next week. I think they'll beat Carolina, but after that, it could be a rough go.
Yeah, having Drew Brees tends to mask a lot of deficiencies.
But I think their philosophy was good when they had him.
It was.
They didn't pivot quick enough.
Yeah. Next one here. This one is not surprising, but it probably should be. In an interview with Bill Bender of Sporting News, Colorado coach Deion Sanders said, quote, "Let's just say, for instance, if we won 10 games and we had 10 guys go to jail, I'd be up there on the cross right there with Jesus. You wouldn't give a darn about the 10 wins. You would focus on what's not right." Take it or leave it.
That's as bad a quote as you're going to see. I'll leave. That is unbelievable that he just doesn't get it. he's so hypersensitive to anything anybody says that doesn't say Prime's the best. If you say anything negative, you're a hater, you're just wishing bad upon them, and it's just not going to work. You can't function in a high-profile environment like that. And yeah, if you won 10 games, which isn't that great, and you had 10 guys go to jail, that would probably be the story.
Yeah, probably so.
You don't go to jail for a parking ticket. You go to jail for serious crimes. If you had 10 guys do that in one calendar year, that would be a big story. Yeah, people are telling Kirby to have some guys slow down, and they don't have 10 guys going to jail. So, like, that's just, it's ridiculous. Him holding that media member out of the press conference and saying he can't ask questions is ridiculous, and he is going to fail at Colorado. It is not an if, it is a win. It just is. He's not wired for this spot. He's just not. He's wired to cover wide receivers. He's wired to talk on TV, which he's great at. He's not wired to run a football program and have media coverage. He's not.
Last one here. This one's just for you, Hunt. PGA Commissioner Jay Monahan said, quote, "There is no deadline for the tour to reach a deal with Saudi Arabia's PIF. Take it or leave it."
Take it. I guess there's no deadline. I mean, it's just golf's just split in half, and nobody seems to care. Well, nobody on the Saudi side seems to care. It stinks. My golf fantasy league's over.
Oh yeah,
I think I got like 40th.
Yeah,
that pays out. That pays out a cool 0.
Your strategy was just a little bit unsound, in my opinion, but
it was not good.
Neither here nor there.
We gotta go. You missed any of the show? Catch it on demand anywhere you catch your audio. I'm headed to Genesis Baton Rouge. Looking forward to that. We'll be back tomorrow with our show. Getting ready for LSU and USC. Matt's going to drive you home next one after further view. Have a great Wednesday. It's the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Every shot, every goal, ESPN Bet has fans covered for the biggest moments on the road to a championship. That road, incidentally, starts up, well, it's already kind of started, but we get really into it coming up on Thursday night with a lot of college football action that goes through the weekend. And the exclusive sportsbook of ESPN is the only place where you can find special offers and promotions from your favorite ESPN shows and personalities. Scott Van Pelt, Mike Greenberg, Stephen A. Smith, you name it, they got specials on ESPN Bet. And you can do that throughout the entirety of football season. Now listen to this. New users can get a bet reset up to $1,000 in bonus bets if your first bet doesn't win. So if you don't have an ESPN Bet account, get one. Your first bet is risk-free, up to $1,000. If you lose, your bet is refunded right there into your account. So download ESPN Bet today. What a play. Must be 21 or older. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-522-4700. In partnership with the Bears Lake Charles. Terms and conditions apply. See app for details.
There it is, the extra mile. On the border of expected and extraordinary. For those willing to go further. Like vans customized for work or play. With safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team.